Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome to Entrepreneurship Tea. Like we always say, that Entrepreneurship Tea is where we as entrepreneurs are sharing our journey with you guys. We're sharing our missed opportunities, sharing the process of being an entrepreneur. And we're also sharing those moments, those big moments, those wins, right? The big wins and the little wins, and also, like I always say, that if you don't manage those missed opportunities as an entrepreneur, those can be failures. But today I am joined by, actually, I'm working with Miss Jeanette. So she recently started working with me. She's been wonderful. We were connected through a mutual connection of ours, James from, I believe he's from Chase Bank. He basically had a meeting with her and he was like, listen, I think both of you guys are going to go very well together. She's wonderful. She helps a lot of businesses in the neighborhood. Of course, Jeanette and I, we got together and our first meeting, we ended up just connecting on so many different levels. And then not only that, we found out that we were connected through so many organizations. So in the process of her and I working together, she's going to come and tell you guys about, some of the mess that I've made with, my bookkeeping and things like that, because she and her team are working on that. But overall, Jeanette has just been a wonderful pillar of the community, the business community, collaborating with other entrepreneurs like herself or like myself. So I want to introduce Jeanette. And then once I introduce her, she's going to come in. If I miss anything, she's going to add it there and then we can go from there. Okay. So Jeanette Velasquez, she's a champion for economic empowerment and financial resilience for small businesses across Massachusetts. She's the founder and CEO of Velasquez Taxes and Business Services. She continues to expand her impact as a leading advocate for economic empowerment, financial literacy, and community-driven success. This October, Jeanette was featured. She was a feature panelist and small business taxation workshop presenter at the Black Economic Council, which I was also a vendor at. It was a wonderful, wonderful conference. She's held in October of 2024, she held Building Black Wealth at the Black convention at the Boston Convention Center. Actually, no, she did this last year. She was on the panel last year at the convention center. She's also been spotlight. She's been on the spotlight, and also she was a panel discussion, part of the panel discussion of Beyond Boston, highlighting Boston business ecosystem across the state. This was also last year in October. Jeanette had the opportunity to join a distinguished panel to explore the growth and success of Black-owned businesses beyond the greater Boston area. Jeanette also her bio is so extensive. I'm trying to see. Okay, so let me go to her accomplishments. Her accomplishments inspires the Boston Journal, where she was featured in this year, June 18th of 2025, for the Two Steps Backward Support. Hold on one second. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have to read that again. Her accomplishments include the Boston Business Journal feature in June of 2019, the Two Steps Backward support is waning for Black-owned businesses as supplier diversity efforts retreat media feature. Jenner was recently featured on Boss Lady News with Britt Johnson in June of last year, sharing her insights on tax preparation and grant acquisition strategies. She also captivated audiences in her Building Black Wealth Taxation Strategy workshop in June of 2024. Jeanette has also been on the advocacy for minority-owned businesses. She was featured on the GHB News in November of 2019. She was also feature on the Western Neighborhoods May edition. She also received the award and recognition as a 2005 Goldman Sachs Black owned, which I am also an alumni of, the Black owned business, Goldman Sachs Black, is it Black women minority?
Yeah. Goldman Sachs, 1 million Black women in business.
The
BIB. So
Goldman
it is a mouthful.
Okay, yeah, the Goldman Sachs 1 million Black women businesses. She was an alumni of and then she was also an alumni of the Sewell Entrepreneurship, this one is a program at Babson, correct? At Babson College. Oh my gosh, so many. She's also been recognized as at the Massachusetts House of Representatives, also the LISC Digital Growth Accelerator Certification Award. She's an author of the Latina Extraordinary Volume 4. Oh my gosh, so many accomplishments. Listen, if I have to read, we're going to keep going on and on and on and on. But I'm going to stop here and I'm going to bring in Jeanette so she can join me in her introduction to see if there's anything she wants me to highlight about her extensive resume. Jeanette, welcome to Entrepreneurship Tea. How are you doing this Saturday? Is it
Patience.
Wednesday?
Thank
Is it
you for
Wednesday?
the
No, Tuesday.
opportunity.
How are you doing this?
Yeah. Is it Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yes, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday, November the 4th, 2025. I'm grateful to be here and to be alive. Thank you for inviting me to the platform. This is an amazing opportunity. And this is what, community looks like, and helping each other, partnering. And it's beyond the business. It's how we treat one another, how we lift each other up.
Yes.
And I think that's the pillar, what I live by. And I've come to know Patience, what we both live by, right? At the end of the day, people are going to remember how you treated them, how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And really our works, right? Our actions and what we display to the world. And really that's how my businesses were birthed. As Patient mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Core Value Strong Family. Forgive me, that is the business line that I did not turn off, if you can hear that, but I'm going to turn it off. There we go. Forgive me. Thankfully, you're going to bleep this out.
We will. We will. Don't worry about it.
That's clients looking for their work.
Yeah.
Let's see. In addition to being a founder of Velasquez Tax and Business Services, I call it VTBS for short. It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
I do have my husband's last name, and he is from Guatemala, so that's where the Latino Spanish name comes in. And so I'm also the founder and CEO of Core Value Strong Families. It's a nonprofit where we help the most vulnerable children and families to overcome the inequalities in health, wealth, technology, arts, mathematics. And we do that in a holistic way. I can recall a time where when I was a single mom and I was homeless, I was a former foster child in foster care at 5 months old. And I wouldn't be here without the supports and people in the community who have been planted so many great seeds in my life. And so that's why I'm determined to give back what has been poured into me. So I'm grateful to be here and to expound on my entrepreneurship life and community leader and kind of what that looks like in 2025 as we're nearing the last quarter of the year.
Absolutely.
And, all the hats that we wear as business owners. If you're a mom, you have a dog, the different seasons in life and how do we weather the storms? So it's so many, I use a lot of foundational components. As I mentioned, love is most important.
Yeah.
Giving back, strengthening. As I strengthen myself, I like to strengthen others. And I feel like that's what really fills my cup so that I can have plenty to overflow to help where is needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jeanette, before we even jump into any questions, in our business, especially now that we're doing business like over, with the introduction of technology, we're doing business over Zoom and things like that, right? It's one thing to meet people on Zoom, right, for you guys to connect. But then there's another thing too, to meet people in person, right? And for you guys to actually connect in person. And you have this way about you that makes everybody feel comfortable around you, right? Because at first I was like, okay, maybe it's just me, right? But then I saw you at the BECMA, the Black Expo, this past, I think it was October. And you're just like that with everyone, right? And I know we're going to go into your childhood later on down the line, but I want us to start with that. Like, what about the human connection that's so important to you that makes you want to make everyone feel like, okay, this is my friend. Like, and I've known her for so long. Like, what about that? Like, how did you even develop that?
Patience, that's a great question. I can only give credit really to the Most High
Okay.
in the light that I really which some call him God. I say the Most High, and it's really the love that I want to be inside of me. That is something purposefully I feel like you have to work on that, right? We all have
Yeah.
our goals. Some people, their health, they're exercising, they're want to be a better runner, whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
I want to be a better person. I want to be a better person for myself, for my marriage, for my children, for my great great grandchildren, for my
Yeah.
community. And I believe the foundation in knowing who I am and whose I am and being tapped into a spiritual source really gives me the light and the love to know how to love and honor myself. And then and that spills over to everyone else, right? It doesn't matter if you're a janitor or the CEO of an organization. If
Yeah.
you don't have a home, or if you have a mansion, right?
Right.
And rolling crowds, I'm going to give the same respect, attention, and dedication, wherever environment we're in, to that person. And everyone deserves. And I just grew up as an underdog, so I know
Yeah.
what that's like. I grew up with our beautiful dark skin, but at the time I didn't know it. And at that time in that environment, it was demonized. It was looked at as bad
Yeah.
and not always the favorable one to get picked out of the boys that you liked.
Yeah.
And that fighter in me is like, okay, well, if you don't like me, well, you're not going to hurt me. So
Yeah.
I was always like a fighter.
Yeah.
And then along the way, just the love of the Most High and understanding what this world is. It's spiritual. This world is it's only temporary. We're only here for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so as I began to get into my spiritual foundation of who I am, my purpose, I believe that love just spills out.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know part of your background, you mentioned when you're introducing yourself that you were in the foster care system when you were 5 months old, right? So, if you're comfortable, yeah, I would definitely love for you to share with us how you being the underdog and growing up in the foster care system shaped your mentality into being a business owner. Was this something that you grew up wanting to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, or did this come at a later stage in life?
Yes, I believe the foundation started, it became a situation where it started off as a sad one, is misfortunate, but it was a blessing in disguise. It was part of my journey. Had I not been in foster care, I would have not met, the late Bessie Wiggins, who was my mom, who ended up adopting me, the late Geneva Anderson, who was her mother. So these wonderful people, I believe that was purposely destined in my life to change the trajectory from my bloodline family. And so it started there with being in the foster care at 5 months old. My sister came straight from the hospital. At that time in the community in Boston, in the South End, there was the drugs on war, right, in our Black communities. And a lot of families and individuals and cousins, aunties fell victim to that. And as a result, a lot of families were displaced and in foster care. But I was really blessed and fortunate to have I was born on Ruthven Street, right? With
Okay.
my mom and her sisters. It's a street in Dorchester. And then my foster mom would be on the parallel street of Humboldt Ave. So, right. So can you believe that divine connection?
Right.
And my biological mother didn't know my foster mom, but my biological mom and my aunts, they knew a woman across the street. And back then there was just a community and
Yeah.
everyone knew Aunt Bessie. And so when some community aunts who I still are in my family today, I know them as auntie, right? That's all I know, but they're not my blood relatives, but I grew up with them.
Yeah.
My mom was a community mom, aunt, person. And when I was a foster child and I went over to Bessie Wiggins, all the other aunts and people in the neighborhood were like, wow, what is Jeanette doing here? Like, oh, you have Sophie's baby.
Yeah.
So I know that's only divine alignment.
Yeah.
And they Bessie Wiggins and Geneva Anderson, they was just fueled in love. They were fueled in making sure that we were okay and wasn't in it just for the money. They were really true community leaders and activists within the church, right? So we would be there, uh, fundraising, Bible study, choir,
That makes sense.
playing, yeah, playing instruments. We was in church all the time,
Mm,
at people's homes who were sick and shut in, feeding, clothing, and that's real community service. That's service. If you want to be a leader, you have to serve. So
yeah.
I believe that was like my foundation
Okay.
that really paved the way for me to becoming a entrepreneur and a community leader today. And they just pushed me. They said, hey, go across the street, go to the store. Back then it wasn't too much helicopterness with the parenting. It
Yeah.
was, we had to do a part in the family.
Yeah.
And it was like the Loud House at my house. It was like over 10 children, right?
Mhm.
And we all had to pick up our weight in the home or
Okay.
you would be kind of left behind.
Yeah.
And so I gravitated to my grandma's house. She was injured in a fire and I helped her with her bills, going shopping, paying, her cable bill, rent, money order, and I would get a stipend at,
Okay.
at the end of the month. So that management system was there. So these different seasons and moments in my life, I believe it was preparing me for today.
Awesome. Awesome. So now let's talk about you now going through high school, right? You've graduated. So at what point were you like, okay, taxes is really, or I'm sure you got a degree in accounting, right? At what point did you make that decision? Because it's one thing to help your grandmother with her bills, right? And help her pay, help her with, keeping finances in order. But then there's another thing to say, okay, you know what? I truly enjoyed this and I want to make a living out of it. So at what point did that transition happen for you?
Yes, that's a great question. High school, I went to South Boston High and we went to, thank you for switching that camera mode. Did you switch that? Yeah, that's great. So I couldn't have to, so I stopped looking at myself.
Yeah.
In high school, we had an accounting class. I was always good with numbers and I took that course, learned about credits and debits and accounting. And that was really fascinating to me. That stood out to me. And I eventually applied for college and I went to a private school called Bay State College with They're No More. It was a very private school in Back Bay, but it was a really good foundation. And I took accounting. I was like, okay, I'm going to study accounting. I'm going to study accounting and go into that. And at the same time, I was a single mom by time I was a teen mom by time I left high school. So I was learning how to do taxes. I did my own first tax return. I
Okay.
always had a small little job, so I got a state refund back. I'm like, oh, I get money back, and what child is not thrilled with money?
First.
I worked at Gillette for the Gillette company through
Okay.
this program that was my first like corporate job. And then I ended up doing a good job. They hired me back. And from there, as I mentioned, I went into accounting at Bay State College and then start understanding that accounting is broad. And so I started focusing on like the taxes, the taxation of it. So I became a part of it's called VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Program. And I volunteered for over 5 years, just giving back to the community, helping them understand the tax code, especially like the earned income credit. different opportunities for the working poor that they didn't know that's available to them. As I got it for myself. I would always have a job and get these type of credits. And so that's what really fueled me to want to make sure the community had access to these opportunities to help them live, their cost of living throughout the year.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. And then, so you went from working for Gillette, helping out in the community. So, at what point did Velasquez taxes come in?
Yes. So I end up getting that was my associates at Bay State College.
Okay.
And I end up going to Pine Manor, transferred over, got my BA, and I minored in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I want to get into, I know then I didn't want to do total like corporate accounting because I had my daughter
Mm,
and I wanted to have that kind of like balance,
yeah.
and it's taxing to be in a corporate, you're doing 60, 80 hours a week. So I was like, okay, I chose to be there for my child at the same time. She's in childcare already.
Yeah.
So that was a long days for children. So I kind of like wanted to balance that out and entrepreneurship. So learning about that. So I started learning about okay, what it meant to be entrepreneurship. I started birthing out I called it Wiggins Family Care Center.
Mm,
And it's similar to a Boys and Girls Club, but I wanted all these different departments to really help families and empower them, not just give them food, but teach them how to fish, right? Like the Chinese proverb saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And that just has always fueled me beyond what happens when holiday seasons come. You give someone a turkey, you give them a gift card, you give them a little present. That all goes to other businesses and profits them. It feeds them for a little bit, but it's not sustainable. So that always drove my passion that
mhm,
we have to be economically sound and stable.
mhm.
There's so many injustices in how businesses and people like us have gotten here.
Yeah.
But one of the ways is, ownership through home, through business, and then our collective bargaining and sticking together. So that's what really fueled BTBS. Did a lot of work in the nonprofit sector for many years. Of course, giving back, a servant. And I helped many nonprofits like Family Aid Boston, Paul and Phyllis Fireman Foundation. So I got a lot of good experience in working with nonprofits and how they worked on the administrative accounting side. And then at that time, I'm fueling all of my ideas, what I want things to look like from people like me. And I've experienced many things, how being a leader and having that experience background, it should come from people who have that lived experience.
Right.
And so along the way, I'm doing nonprofit work. I'm building up my small tax business along the way. And then COVID hit. I said, I was on my last assignment at a nonprofit and that got pulled out of underneath the rug. I was fired, let
Yeah.
go. But I was grateful. I really was like, oh, okay, this is a opportunity to, you know what? I'm not looking back. Let
Mhm.
me go and I'm going to start my business, really start it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I end up helping small businesses obtain over $1 million through the Small Business EDIL Target Supplement Grant.
Okay.
For those who didn't qualify for the PPP, this was just like an additional $15,000 grant on top of a small, very low interest loan that they could get. And that I was already working with those businesses in hub zone low income areas who had the right documentation. I proposed to my clients and I said, hey, if you give me some referrals, I'll give you a discount. And I was able to get communities over 1.3 million with that program. And then from there, I was like, okay, I can go beyond just tax season. I can do this full time. And that's what I began to really thrust myself in the small business ecosystem in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's something that's consistent about you in helping, right? And we know that is from your, your upbringing, right? Being raised in the church, your grandmother really pushing you in the community to be have that giving mindset, right? Have that servant mindset. When you transition into being a tax preparer for small businesses, how did that play in the work that you do with small businesses? Or how does it play in the work you do with small
The
business?
same way, the
Yeah.
same way as an individual from doing taxes from their T's. I was helping them. I can see their income for the year. Okay, you need tax strategy. Your children are going to be going to college soon. Are you applying for scholarships? Do you know about an education plan? Are you a homeowner? So having access to that sensitive information, people trusting me with that, I can see, and I was already planning out and planting seeds and helping families shift their mindset, right? Okay, rent, you can only pay so long, but it doesn't go into equity.
Right.
What about home ownership? So I was always sharing, hey, here's this home ownership opportunity. Here's this lender. Here's this first home buyer class. Here's this opportunity to build yourself up with match savings at this time where you could save money. You can save it to a pot for education, home ownership, or start a business.
Yeah.
So I was doing so that same model shifted to small business supports beyond just giving them tax preparation, bookkeeping. They needed more, right? To help diversify their income. So I started, okay, hey, grants really work until your sales, your services speed up.
Yeah.
Grants is an opportunity to help you while you're bootstrapping, especially with small businesses who may have had some credit issues.
Yeah.
May have more debt and they don't want to take out debt yet.
Yeah.
So I was offering like McDonald's upgrading, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you want a shake with that? Do you
Yeah.
want a Coke?
That's like the
And
most
so,
annoying thing for me. Is there anything else?
yep. And so that's how I fueled and diversified my income because beyond that, it's like, and I'm, educating them that you don't just come to a tax preparer, an accountant, a CPA for tax season. That's the prep work. But it's the advisory. You're making more money, life circumstances, and you're getting married. What is that going to look like with a two-person house income? One has a business, one has property. What does that look like, right? One has a child now, you're going to have maybe two children now.
Yeah.
So I was encouraging folks to look at the planning and the tax structure that it can benefit you because it is there to benefit you. But it's hard to do that when you've already exhausted the whole tax year and
Yeah.
no tax strategy is put in place.
Yeah.
So that same mindset fuel to, I want to see us small businesses grow because if we're growing, we're reinvesting that back into Black businesses, other businesses, and of course into our communities. That's building up the real estate taxes. We're able to buy more acquisition, buildings, commercial property, and that's going to fuel our communities with success.
Yeah. No. No, I think that's great. And like I said, even though we just got introduced to one another, everything that you're saying here, you live like you are a lived example, right? You have people who some things are on their resume and it's just on their resume. You have to like get a magnifying glass to see if they're actually doing what they say they're doing. But for you, and I can attest to it because
Thank
I
you.
am one of those people. And this is a great transition because the question that I want to ask is in you helping small businesses, especially when it comes to bookkeeping, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to dealing with finances, right? What would you say is the most mistake or probably the first mistake that most small businesses and businesses of color, right? Because I do want us to emphasize on the businesses of color because
Mhm.
I feel like we are for lack of a better word, the emerging market, right? When it
Mm.
comes to business ownership within this nation United States of America, right? But with that, there's a lot of mistakes that we're making along the way, especially when it comes to tax planning, bookkeeping, and things like that, right? So that's
Mhm.
why I'm using, minority owned
Yeah,
businesses and things like that, right?
totally. Yeah,
So,
BIPOC.
yeah,
I totally get it. One of the biggest mistakes that I see that I encourage folks by the time they're finished with me
yeah.
that they have to stop commingling their business and personal accounts.
Mm,
Your personal account is your personal account. That's under your social security number. Your business account is your business account. That is structured under your EIN number, your employer identification number. Keep those two separate. Now, if you make a deposit into your business from your social security number, from your savings and investment, and you put it in your business return under your EIN number, that's a owner's equity investment, right? That shows that you are putting value into your business. And you want to show that equity on your balance sheet, right? Your balance sheet is a form where it has your assets minus your liabilities equals your owner's equity, right? What is your business worth? And so a lot of times it makes it harder for us accounting firms to help our small businesses, our BIPOC small businesses. We have to do a lot of work. It is
yeah,
tedious where we have to rectify taking those owner equity payments, trying to, legally and gap wise give you good, clean books. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see that I always encourage to keep it separate. No commingling at all. And I do that. And once I teach them to do that, then I say, okay, here's a good system that you can use for your personal stuff. You can use a financial system for your personal information. You can use like Wave apps. That's what I use for myself. You can, it can create like financial statements for yourself. What are you spending on groceries? What are you spending on life insurance, rent, a home, mortgage statements, things like that, on clothing. That's what I do for myself. And of course, I pass that down to my clients. And then by that time, you have really good, clean books. And when we're preparing your taxes, we're preparing audit proof tax returns. And
mm,
we have to back up and that, you have to keep these returns and these financial preparations for 7 years and
okay,
sometime a little more, right? So that is the rule. So you want to keep that and you want to make sure everything that we compiled it's proof, it's audit proof that
yeah,
anytime you need to go back or bank, you're about to acquire a building, a property, IRS come knocking, the state come knocking. You don't have to scramble around.
yeah,
You know exactly what your accounting firm has done for you, and it's easy to track. Other than that, it's going to be really difficult and it's going to make you stressful
yeah.
and no one wants IRS knocking at their door. So that's one of the biggest things that I would say.
So I made this mistake in the beginning of my business because one of the things that I try to do with my audience is to try to be as transparent as possible, right? Because the reason why I actually started Entrepreneurship Tea was, you know what? I'm still in the process, right? I don't know everything. There are so many things I want to know. So why don't I get folks on this podcast that know so that they can teach all of us, right? Because I feel like we're all learning and growing together. One of the mistakes that I made on my business or for my business, and you can, you know, I guess, speak on this is in the beginning, I felt like, oh, I wasn't making enough money, so I didn't need to pay attention to my bookkeeping aspect, right? Or even filing taxes. You know what? I made $0 last year. So you know what? I'm not going to file or I'm not going to pay attention, right? And this is something that I remember my first accountant before you, he was like, Patience, I don't care. If it's $0, you need to file your taxes. Have the record of that $0 because you need to have that record so that in the future, as you grow and you're looking to scale, you have that record. Do you see that most businesses are making this error like I did, right? And what can businesses do from the ground up that will help make bookkeeping easy for them?
Yeah. Patience, I see it all the time. And I'm not gonna put you on the spot. You've given me permission, but I don't I'll always use examples. I never use anyone's name, but you know, that's the case. It happens like you said. I don't know everything either.
Yeah.
So I use other people on my team to help me, lawyers to read over contracts and subscriptions I'm going for. I've gotten to some boo-boos like, okay, I should have had someone look over this contract
Yeah.
and spend this money, this 150, whatever it is for this lawyer to help. So I do that myself. Second, I would speak to, in order to rectify that, any small business entrepreneur that you're looking to really turn it into a business and not a hobby, you want to have the right people around. So have the right business structure, have your EIN number, have your financial management system. If you want to use Excel, but we're in 2025, there's so many good, affordable financial systems you have to invest in. It's easy. Having your own business bank account and start separating the two. Have no personal expenses come out. If you want personal expenses to come out, then you use it as an owner's draw and you take that from your business account and you transfer it over to your personal account as an owner's draw, depending on your entity structure that you can do that. So, and we could rectify that for you. We can go back and do an amendment, right? If you missed out, because a lot of times a startup business is spending thousands of dollars on their startup, right? You have the Secretary of State, you're doing a DBA, you have an office equipment, your computer, your car, whatever type of, if you are a plowing company, you have these major expenses. That's why tax preparation and advisory is important, because they're going to advise you to say, hey, these are all assets to your business.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep track of that. Let's have your financial system identify that. And that becomes depreciation. Even if you didn't make anything, that depreciation is going to carry over. So when you start making money, that's going to help reduce your liability of what you owe.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why it is important to have, so, there are pro bono owners, but there's like there's so many platforms where you can, what is it, that Zoom platform that you can get like for some lawyer advice. You want to have
Or legal Zoom.
Legal Zoom.
Yeah.
Legal Zoom,
Yeah.
have a little bit of them, have your accountant, have, advisory eventually. But I think those are good structures that you do and you cannot skimp out on as you are growing your business and to stay compliant.
And another resource too that a lot of people sleep on, especially when it comes to the accounting. And the reason why I want to stress on it, like I always told myself, I'm good at everything when it comes to business unless we get to the accounting, to the point that I remember for the Goldman Sachs program during our cohort, like our cohort was in the fall, like we started in September and we ended in December. I breezed through everything when it came to, putting our client profile together, doing this, doing that, doing that. I didn't have issues with it. But when it came to creating the forecast for our business, I remember having paralysis. Literally for one whole week, I just couldn't, like my brain literally shut down. And I just couldn't figure out like the numbers. And I remember I would stay up nights and again, the exercise is great because it sort of like helps us figure out, okay, what is the things that we need to be thinking about when it comes to accounting in our agency or with our business. But because I had told myself for so many years that this is not something that I was good at, I had such a challenge with that exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of businesses that are saying, hey, my business is small enough, or I don't have money to spend on anything, to hire a bookkeeper or to buy this software or X, Y, and Z. There's so many community like organizations that give help when it comes to bookkeeping, resources, and things of that nature. And one, I don't know if I think I saw an email, but that says that they've changed the name, but Score. I don't know if Score is still in existence.
Yeah, Score Boston. Yeah,
Yeah,
Scores.
Score was a really good resource for me in the beginning when I started. And then, like some cities like Boston or some universities do a really good job at providing resources to small business owners that are looking for help with their bookkeeping and things like that. So, can you allude to other resources that's out there that small businesses that feel like, okay, I'm not big enough to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper, resources that they can take advantage of?
Yeah, totally. I definitely, when I always talk, I have a wonderful resource sheet checklist with a lot of goodies on there. So if folks want that information, they could email me at Jeanette, if it's okay, Patience, Jeanette
Oh, of
B
course.
at vtbsuccess.com. That's JNETTEB at vtbsuccess.com. When you email me, I want to get an email in return, add you
Yeah.
to my email list. I will send you this wonderful coordinated draft, everything kind of what we talked about today. And it'll give you some tips on, record keeping, some affordable financial management systems. And of course, there are tons of accelerated programs. My top one, she already mentioned SCORE. My top one, of course, is BECMA,
Yeah.
right? So the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts, and they are a membership-based program and they offer membership supports. They have back office supports
Yeah.
for all businesses in Massachusetts. So that is really, really key. They have a earmark. So that means they have a budget in the Commonwealth. So that's really amazing. And they've just made so much great progress. And I am a little biased to the program because I'm a member and ambassador. And
Yeah.
we just have lots of partnerships together. And they have a platform where you can, as Patient mentioned, we were at the MBE together, right? The Mass Black Expo. And so many other events that we're a part of. BECMA is connected in some way and helping us bridge together and make us stronger businesses. The National Association for Women Business Owners, CWE, the Center for Women Enterprise, even though some of the government shutdown is affecting their funding.
Yeah.
However, CWE has great programs where you can get affordable bookkeeping. I've received pro bono services over some contracts that I had mentioned earlier when you're signing up for those subscriptions. So they do offer that. So CWE is really great. Ascendus, they have like affordable, low income access to capital. Lawyers, the Boston College Legal Access Bureau. That's the BC Lab.
Okay.
We have the Boston Bar Association. That's also some more free legal pro bono work for the community, or sometimes even free to very low scale. So those are some of the things that I would mention. Getting into some of those accelerated programs, a lot of them are free.
Yeah.
Free. And they could help you with check to see if your local town or city municipal has technical assistance. A lot of them provide. The city of Boston, I'm a technical assistant provider. I have a contract with them and I provide accounting services to small businesses in the city of Boston. So try to definitely connect to see what your local city or town has for small businesses. I would start by going on your local or city. If you live in Framingham, the town of Framingham, and you go to their business website and see what they have. See what you're already investing. You live in that community as a resident. Go in there and see how they're helping small businesses, because small businesses fuel your local town or municipal area that you live in. Same with the state. Go to the state of Massachusetts. State of Massachusetts, they have the the business front door, mass development. There are a plethora of business opportunities to help you from startup early stage to beyond your past your 500,000 to more. But that's what I do. I help small businesses navigate the ecosystem
Yeah.
because as I reeled off so many, sometimes it can be like, okay,
Right.
Where do I start? And it's so much value, but businesses like myself, we can really help you navigate, and help you digest according to what you can handle on your plate as you're growing into your CEO role.
Yeah, and the Beckman back office support. That's something I feel like a lot of people, even me myself, right? Even though I'm a member of Beckman, and to be quite honest with you, I went and I took all my Beckman email from junk and I forwarded it now to like to my me email because there's so many resources that Beckman offers that we don't take advantage of. And the back office support was one of those resources that I didn't even take advantage of until you came along, right? And you were like, hey, girl, did you know about this? And I ended up applying. I didn't think I was going to get it because I have this misconception, which is not a misconception. In the beginning, it was true. A lot of resources is not out there for agency owners, especially in the beginning, like when it comes to grants and things like that, right? So I sort of like gave up on finding resources for my business along the way as time went along. But after I spoke to you, you were like, no, just apply. What's the worst that could happen, right? They could say no, right? But I ended up applying and I got it. And you and your wonderful team, you're cleaning up my books, right? You and your
Indeed.
working on my books right now, honestly, it brings so much relief to me because some of these things cause stresses in the life of an entrepreneur, right? When certain aspects of your business is not to the to it's not set up or it's not being ran the way that it should be ran, it brings stress on you, right? And it prevents you from scaling the way that you want to scale, right? So I am super excited about the Beckman back office opportunity. And you were assigned to me as my tax preparer. So Beckman, if some of the members from Beckman's or Beckman, Nicole, whoever is watching this, Beckman, thank you guys. You've been a great support system, not just to me, but to so many businesses in Massachusetts, Black owned businesses in Massachusetts over the years. I remember when I first opened my business, Nicole was my membership coordinator at the time. And before she became the CEO, she was the first person that I went to. I was like, hey, I just started my agency. I don't know what to do. She was like, you know what? I don't know too much about the insurance industry, but guess what? We'll figure it out together. Right. And one of the advice that she gave me was the only way you can get the best out of this organization is if you remain plugged in. And that means if you show up to our events, if you let us know what's going on with your business, if you let us know how you're growing and what your needs are, then we can figure out what resources we have to support you, right? And I feel like a lot of the small businesses don't do that. And we get stuck in this cocoon that we've built, right? And it prevents us from really utilizing opportunities within the community like Beckma and other opportunities as well. So thank you for that. And again, thanks to you and your team. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see what the final result is.
It's going to be beautiful and you're going to have what you need to move forward,
Yeah.
for 2026. And that pressure is going to be off your shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do. So thank
Yeah.
you for heeding and listening. Sometimes, another thing is small business owners, entrepreneurs. I have a course, a packet where like shifting your mindset from employee to CEO.
Yeah.
And it's beyond just tax preparation. That's why I say I love working with my community, with BIPOC community, because it's holistic.
Yeah.
There's so many emotions and behaviors that are tied to money for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm not there to judge you, but I'm there to help and push you.
Mm.
Right. And I'm going to push you sometime. If it's gentle, then sometimes I'm going to say, well, no, we have to accelerate this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it brings me so much joy that, I'm being used as a purpose, right? As an answered prayer.
Yeah.
Literally, people are like, I was at an event one time with Beckma and, this lady was on her way. She was coming from Rockland all the way to Boston. And we were at an AIM event. And, I was just starting to like get into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then mass development was there like, hey, here's my friends. And I was like, hi. I was still like working on my elevator speech or whatever. And at the elevator, I ended up doing my elevator speech, passing out all my cards, telling people who I was really quick, nailed it. Elevator door opened, closed, it was done. And they was like, oh, that was really, really good. But then at the elevator, I met this woman and she's like, what did you say? I just was praying on her way from Rockland all the way to Boston. She was praying, saying, God, send me somebody to help me. I need help. So I'm just grateful that I am being used as a vessel to be a blessing to others who need me. And that you took heed. Sometimes people don't take heed. Like, I'm like, listen, this is, when I'm telling them about money and grants and opportunities, this is real.
Yeah.
And like you said, like you have to look through fine coat. No, I've lived this. I'm doing it. Been there, done that. I have the scars and the results to prove it.
Yeah.
That's why our slogan is our vision, our expertise, real results. And I'm glad that you saw and took the action on what I was saying, because some people don't take that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we're those answered prayers. Yahweh is using people to help us and to partner and to grow. And as I mentioned, I don't know everything. I need lawyers.
Right.
Use CWE to help me with like this contract thing that I was in with this other, in case someone sees it, but I'm just going to say in this, read your subscriptions and your contracts. And those resources that I mentioned, you need sometimes some lawyers to look over that for you.
Yeah.
Oh, those resources that I mentioned, that when you email me, I'm going to send you these really good resources to have. We all need help as entrepreneurs. We can't do it forever for long, or we're really not going to scale.
Yeah.
So we're here to help each other.
Yeah.
That's
And
the key.
thank you so much for your time. And we are going to put your email in the description of the podcast, so folks are going to have access. And then also all your social media platform, we're going to list them as well in the description
Thank
so
you.
that folks can have. So do you only work in Massachusetts or you have other states? Because I know I have some audience that are out of Massachusetts. So I know most of our conversation has been Massachusetts centric. So I know folks are probably going to be asking if you work in other states other than
Pennsylvania, Maryland, California. And because of a lot of my clients started here, I've worked with folks in their college, their doctors, their lawyers, and I go everywhere with them, and they don't leave me. They become reoccurring. They'll come to Massachusetts events, but they're not from there. So, and then they have to go back to their Connecticut, right? We're close to Connecticut, Vermont, Maine,
New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire. The strategies don't change because it's federal, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that changes is like the state when it comes to like tax preparation. But it's the same strategy that I use. I go and look at those local missionalities in towns to see where your money is going for small businesses, how it's being. I look at the budget, follow the money.
Yeah.
In your state.
Yeah.
In your town.
That is awesome. Well, Jeanette, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any parting words for my audience, entrepreneurs, those who are looking to start the journey, those who are already in the journey and they're feeling a little bit hesitant, they're feeling like this is not working and, the stress of it all, especially as we come to this time of the year, it's keeping them up at night. Do you have any parting words for them?
Yes, for those who are starting and are hesitant and not seeing results, keep working. Keep putting your seeds in the ground. In the ground, we don't know that it's growing, but it is growing.
Right.
Put your seeds in the ground. Keep doing the work. Keep doing it with wholeheartedly. Do it with integrity. Do it with the right intentions, not to be seen, but you have a gift, whether it's a service, a restaurant, a product. You're doing this not just for you, but for the next generation, for your legacy, right? And you may not see the fruits now, but it's part of the process. Trust the process. And at the same time, while you're waiting for your next breakthrough to come through, bless somebody else. Bless others who may not have what you have, right? How are you? Make sure you're reaching back and helping others, because that is part of that's the law. That's the law of attraction. Reach back and help others, even when you don't think it's going great. Trust me, it's going to accelerate
Yeah.
what you are needing, right? That check for 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, that contract, don't stop. That RFP, don't just look at it, fill it out. If you get it wrong, ask them how you got it wrong and get better.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and scroll through the RFP or the opportunity, but apply for it. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I was thinking about this. This is who I am. Can we have some coffee? Can we have a Zoom? Can we have a Google Meet?
Yeah.
I'm new to this. This is my opportunity. Share the world with who you are and what you have to offer. If that person or whoever rejects you, dust your feet off, go to the next.
Yeah.
Don't give up. For those who are doing it, you know what it is. It's not for the weak in heart.
Nope.
It is tough, but we dust ourselves off. But we also, and me personally, and this goes past for me, have that self-care.
Yeah.
Take time off. I know it's hard for us to do that.
Yeah.
But we have to take time for ourselves, right? If you can take off end of December, 3 weeks to something, hey, the work is still going to be there anyway.
Yep.
But let's take time off to self-care for ourselves so that we can continue to fuel the work that we're doing with a straight mind, with less confusion, with less stress on our shoulders, and write our plans out for 2026, write our action plans out, get in those sessions instead of going out with your friends or, if you're at a networking event, hey, what are we doing? Well,
Yeah.
how are we making AI work for us?
Yeah.
How are we making this boom? How are you automatizing your systems and your operations?
Yeah.
Who are you using as your team? Make it so that it's actionable.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're getting the fellowship, but we need to, hey, this is pressing. What do we do to prepare and get ready? So that's my recommendation. And of course, spread love, be kind, and it will be reciprocated back to you 100-fold. And I come in agreement with everyone who's watching that it is so.
Amen to that. I will end
Yeah.
with an amen.
I receive it.
Well, Jeanette, thank you so much. I look forward to continuing to build this relationship with you and continuing to work with you because I'm sure once you're done with my books, the only thing that we can do is come back here and share the next level
Mhm. Mhm.
level with everyone and just help other businesses out there scale.
Patience.
Yes.
We didn't mention, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
we didn't mention that who's my business insurance from?
Oh, yeah. Yes, y'all. Yes, she
Okay.
is my client as well.
Yeah.
She's my client. And
Mhm.
one thing she's very intentional about is making sure that she does business with people in her community. And this, even before we got this podcast started, I was telling her I was concerned because my makeup is in my car. My brother has my car. So I was hoping, she was going to come in dressed up while, I'm dressed down without makeup. And she's like, listen, she comes in with her hat and her hoodie. And she was telling me that it is all Black owned, right? So tell me before we end, right? The intentionality about you wanting to really do business with people in your community.
Mhm.
Like, I need to
It's
stress on that.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah, I was like, you know what? Because I was like, I'm tired
Yeah.
to be the truth and for all the work and the running around and which is cool, but we still muster through because we're resilient. But I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna wear my black dollar sweater. This is from a Beckman event from a Beckman member, a
Yeah.
vendor, right? This hat is of course it's through the sports administration of the baseball, but this woman dolled it up. She's Black owned, BIPOC. My water bottle, I'm minding my business,
Yeah.
sipping my water because I donate to BECMA. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to get a Stanley, but I'm like, okay, it's for a good cause.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what it's about, keeping our dollar and being intentional in our community that it's circulating more. And it's circulating at least 10 times like other communities have it. And that's how the money really stays in there. And it's important to have that mindset.
Yeah.
That's
Not
how we're
being
really going to
ashamed
grow.
of it because I think some of the conversation that I've heard is like some people are afraid to have this conversation. Like, to be honest with you guys, if we get to that mindset of we're not saying you shouldn't do business with other people, right? That's not what we're saying here, right? But all we're saying is just be intentional about those who are doing business with you. Because at the end of the day, if businesses like Jeanette and businesses like me, if you guys are working with us, if there's a fundraiser, we will be inclined to give back to the community because guess what? These are the people we identify with. These are the people we see on the regular. These are the people that our heart goes out to see them succeed, right? So the more we succeed, the more we're inclined to give back to our community with the wealth that we're building with our generation, with our legacy, X, Y, and Z, just like many communities out there. When folks are dying, guess what? They leave their community organizations in their will. They leave their churches in their will. They leave X, Y, and Z in their will, right? So that's all we're saying. Do business with Black owned businesses, women owned businesses, minority owned
Yeah,
businesses. Yeah, that's all we're saying. But
that's
thank
it.
you so much, my darling.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And we will chat soon on our WhatsApp.
Alrighty.
Okay. Shalom.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Take care.
All
Bye.
right.